And looking at the gods so far, we are seeing 4 players switching into Loki, which makes a whole lot of sense, with 9 Racing Cat being sticking to Kronos. We would like Oranos a bit more. Not really sure that Kronos is going to be all that useful, but for Lapts, they are going to be having double Kronos so far, as Matreus as a replacement of Kill You Die, yeah, of Kill You Die, who are unfortunately had to leave, which is, I think, a pretty big problem for Absoluts, because Kill You Die was single-handedly the best player for them. And let's see if they can actually come up with, well, or rather good enough counter strategy to, damn it, late for me, mitigate this kind of problem. So Loki, Oranos, Loki, Kronos, Loki. Would definitely be favoring TSMs in this matchup with those double Lokis in there. Because really, I'm not exactly seeing how the Kronos double can fight against all those Lokis. But well, we'll be seeing pretty soon. Maybe they have some special strat for this map just ready. So far we are looking at 7up, who is as the whole TSMs spawning on the left side, as he's going to be on the flank and playing against Matreus, the new player in here. So that's going to be Oranos against Kronos, and that could be slightly in favor of the Kronos, even though I'm not really all that sure. But let's see. I'm really curious to see what Absoluts are going to come up with, as I'm not really knowing what could be the idea of them. Popsy just now that they should be taking care with the rush, and on this map, which is quite wide open and basically made for raiding, we should be expecting a whole lot of raiding with Turmas and then of course with Hersirs from the Lokis. If Aya goes Heimdall, oh, that's a thought. It's actually not a bad thought, because they might be going for some super early advance on their opponents, and the double deconstructions from Absoluts could be pretty deadly, to be honest, especially with the combination of Heimdall's got power of Undermine to kill some kind of TC. Not bad idea, not really bad idea at all. As you can see, it's someone up is in the meantime and discovering quite a lot of elks or other caribous at the back of his base. The pocket TSMs have player, which I think is the best position for him. This basically allows him to boom as much as he can, and he is pretty good at that. And once he is in the pocket, he is all that much of a problem, or that much more of a problem for the opponents. Otherwise, the opponents, Askil, for example, the first to have a look at, is at the top, spawning in an interesting position, having pretty decent gold. Seems to be quite far away from actually the ice for the raiding, but otherwise in the forefront, just having a few berries and pretty decent hunt. And also, there's right next to the hunt of his opponent, actually, of Popsy, a first relic. Cheaper villager food cost, definitely pretty great, and the TC position so far seemed to be... I'm not exactly sure whose this is. This is probably Askil's front, which is not really all that good, as it's going to be quite important for the next game, as it's literally between both of these teams. Yeah, it seems like that it's actually yellow players. Whereas on the bottom, it seems like that actually this one is going to be very important at the bottom side, basically the same as the one at the top, whereas the one in here is actually for the left for TSM 7up. And that also means that basically there is not any kind of discomfort for either teams, as they are going to be having the same situation at the top and at the bottom, so not really any kind of disbalance or anything like that. In the pocket we are having for Absoluts 9 Racing Cat, who is already... he's going for some kind of crash, because he's gonna advance at 330 in here. He's going to be discovered or not? And no, he isn't. Even those guys couldn't go that far. Nobody's going into the middle. This is going to be a surprise. Second Chrono seems to be going for pretty much standard build, and he's even scouting around 7up. So it's almost looking like that he's actually going to be a bit of a decoy, having just a normal fight with his opponent. Going to be advancing pretty late, to be honest, also. Whereas the guys at the top are going to be having a bit of fun with player in the middle, who is going to be absolutely unaware, because there's literally nobody going in. This guy could, even though I'm expecting that he's gonna just build second temple, as he's just now going to be advancing. Decent time for 30. If it wasn't for the fact that actually 9 Racing is already through. Now that's too early. Nice attempt, but too early. He was attempting to actually deconstruct the temple before he gets the free mythical unit, but that's of course not going to be happening just about now, as still Popsy is advancing at 430, so that was badly played, to be honest, by 9 Racing Cat. He just needed to have a look on the timer, and he would have known, or rather basically educated, would have had an educated guess that there might have been opportunity for him to wait for the correct moment at like 4 minutes or something like that, and then he could have exactly succeeded with it. But probably gonna wait for second deconstruct right now from Matreus. They could be making it happen still. Matreus. Deconstruct. Oh, man. I'm fairly certain this was actually the plan. Or if it wasn't, it definitely should have been, because they still could have done it. But right now the troll is up, and that was a mistake, and could be a pretty costly mistake, because of course troll is having extra bonus against Prometheans, against mythical units, and that's something they did not really want to all that much. As you can see, this is a full-on double for Absoluts, and they are going to be attempting to kill Popsy before he is even present in the game. So let us see about that. As you can see that 9, Racycat and Matreus are both here. You're just waiting for Yellow, who is unfortunately under spy. So they are going to be seeing exactly everything. He's double spied actually. One on the Ulfsark, second on the Foodies. Not bad play by TSMs, who are going to be aware of absolutely everything. And well, you can see tower going to be coming down. And is the other one going to be researched? There really isn't anything left. And the research of the tower, transported by Matreus, quite interesting, but he's of course going to be under heavy raiding by his opponent right now, because he doesn't have anything inside his base, just a few Murmillos going to be, but that should be pretty much enough, as it's looking like that 7-up will be just a bit of a nuisance with the oracles, and the towers should be pretty much fine against that, even though there's definitely one about this position missing. Anyway, moving to the top, where Popsy is already having at least a few of the guys in here already, but unfortunately for him, Askil is much better prepared for any kind of eventuality like that, and it's almost looking like that actually 7-up will be helping him as well. And I was halfway thinking that he might be doing a better job actually annoying Matreus, because if he can somehow kill Matreus, or maybe even force him to spend all his attention inside his home base, he would be significantly alleviating the pressure on his teammate Popsy, and I'm thinking that even much better, in a much better way than having the army in there himself. So yep, I'm not really all that certain that this was the correct choice by 7-up, but we'll be seeing pretty soon if it was or not. So far it seems to be working reasonably well for TSMs. You can see that 9 is having already a pretty decent army, but they kinda need to keep up the towers, as they are already being transported, and well, that was exactly the reason why the tower was missing at this position, because that was exactly the one transported to the top. And right now they are in a pretty horrible situation, because you can see that TSMs are having even better army. They have killed the transported tower, second tower is coming down as well. And where is actually Yellow? Just now joining into battle way late, and you can see that Purple is having absolutely nothing. So is he maybe slinging or some such? No, he isn't. So that's kind of curious, as he is so far not really doing anything substantial, as he's having just the army inside his home base and defending exactly what I was talking about for that 7-up should be doing, but I didn't expect that just 3 of our oracles are going to do it. That I did not expect at all. So both towers gone, that's not ideal at all, and it basically means that this rush is stopped. And right now it should be basically a downhill battle for Absoluts, as I'm not really seeing how they could be successfully attacking or taking out the DC with the army that they are right now having, especially since TSMs are basically prepared for it, and especially this goes for TSM player. Oh, some extra free shots for Yellow. Wasn't really ideal for player. To be moving to the villages to the left slightly, so player should be really careful where he actually goes. As inside the base, there's not really all that much happening. Askil trying to raid a bit, but he could be doing a whole better job from the top, because the tower has been killed. I think there was one. It almost looks like that there really was, and with just one remaining, there is absolutely no reason why Popsy should be even researching the remaining tower. So he should be wide open for any kind of raiding from especially the Yellow player. So maybe even Turmas could be good there, as 9 Racycat is moving a bit to the middle. And I'm kind of surprised slightly by how actually Absoluts are playing this, because they are so far not killing either of the players. Tower up, and they are just moving between Popsy and player and not doing much. They are just facing armies and not really killing economies, which is something that you should be in any kind of attempts like this. This is why you do it, basically to kill your opponent's economy. And that didn't really happen. And Popsy didn't... I think he didn't even lose any kind of villages, so yeah. Not really ideal at all. And player is going to be quite successful with at least this one draw against a small army from Purple. But Purple is already moved in and is massing army in there, as he just recognized that actually Green isn't having anything extra in here besides just a few little Prometheans and the Oracles a bit earlier. So that's about that. And 9 Racing Cats Temple is gonna get killed, and the army from player is just getting stronger by the minute. And you can see that there's not really all that much happening right now from Absolats, as the only one who is having some kind of significant army is just about now Askiel, but he isn't engaging in any kind of interesting places. At least a bit of raiding and diversification attempted by Matreus into the economy in here is definitely a good idea. As there are no military buildings in here, Green is basically built up quite far away from his home base, as he's attempting to take a second TC. And you can see that Heroic Age is going to be coming up for TSM player pretty soon as well. He's also having pretty decent army overall already. But same could be said for TSM 7 up, and I'm not really thinking that this battle should be going for Absolats because of the Murmills, as Racing Cat is having just Turmas literally, and they are pretty sucky overall. Even though they are not really bad against all the infantry and such, they simply have too squishy attack, and that means that they are going to take quite a long time to deal with anything. And well, especially if you are going to use them against tank units like Prometheans in here, that wasn't ideal. Finally, a bit of attempt at some kind of fight at the top, but unfortunately Popsy didn't have any kind of damage to his economy, exactly as he said a bit earlier, and that means that Matreus wasn't able to raid him at all, as Popsy was simply quite nicely ready for it, and yeah, without any kind of problem, he defended and he even slaughtered all the army, almost all the army from the Rebel player. Just a few remaining, that's definitely not going to be enough, especially with 7 up just now joining into the fun and trying to get rid of all the buildings in here, as they are slowly but surely moving back to their home bases, it seems. Or are they moving back to the home bases? Oh yes, they are. Right now 9 Racing Cat is going home, so it's basically going to be up to TSMs if they are going to be able to somehow turn this into their advantage. They probably could, with a raiding by Green at the bottom. If he actually can notice something. Well, not really. Not really. Askiel is right now through to Bragi, but I'm thinking that player shouldn't be far behind. Yeah, you can see just 30% behind, so that's not really bad at all. And especially with the extra TC right now from 7 up, he should be quite nicely set up for the Heroic Age himself, and I wouldn't be even surprised if Popsy advances into it pretty soon as well. So flaming weapons being cast pretty soon. Pretty decent army right now by 7 up not being used. Definitely be useful against all this. And I think this is going to be an attempt at the DC. Definitely should be. But unfortunately, with TSM player right now being into the Heroic Age as well, I'm fairly certain he's going to be casting flaming weapons himself. Yes, and that's going to be pretty much a perfect counter, and it's going to be all up to the mythical spawns and who gets the better ones and more of them. Because so far it's really looking like that Absolats don't have enough army to deal with any kind of problem like that they are having. Second TC in the meantime being captured by Matreus at the very back of the bases, as we are following this very big and important battle, as the flame weapons are going to be just off in 10 seconds for Askiel. And army basically killed for players, so that means that half of the flame weapons are going to be wasted. It still resulted in pretty decent defense, but doesn't seem to be enough just now. And with some extra push, I'm thinking that still Absolats could be making something happen in here, especially with 9 Racing Cat right now, preventing any kind of attempt at help from a player from the bottom, and even potentially from 7 up. But yeah, it seems like that Yellow actually doesn't have enough to get rid of all this. Even though he's attempting to do so, but with all the Hersiers getting rid of the piggies quite nicely, yeah, not much of a chance for him. So this was a nice push, but unfortunately it's not going to be successful at all, and well, ran out of gold, but unfortunately, or rather luckily for him, there are still extras at the back, and he's pretty much safe in there. So, we seem to be moving into a bit of a mid-game in here, as that's probably going to result in some taking of the TCs and such. I'm fully expecting that, especially from Askiel, even though he's still pushing into the offensive in here, but right now finally moving a bit back and going for extra long house. And yep, this is almost looking like that he will be attempting to go for the TC just about now, as he doesn't have the army and he's just going for a bit of a ball raiding. Running out of probably food, I'm thinking. Yeah, gatherer. Probably ran out of food, and pretty decent trading right now on the gold willies, and at least one of them gold, or rather gone. That's at least something going right now for 9 Racing Cat, who is going also for the second TC at the back of his base. And that means that actually Absolute should be having a bit of an advantage in the economy, as the only one with second, and who was even attempted it, was a TSM player for TSMs, and this should mean that the better economy for Absolute should be coming through a bit later, but they really need to be careful so that they actually get there, because 7-up is through Hyperion, and he will be having a very nice time, an easy time against his opponent, Matreus, who isn't having any kind of defense inside his base at all, and you can see that it's already a pretty big problem, even though Iron Racing Cat is coming back to help him, at least in that. Everybody building settlements, third for 7-up, so he's quite nicely booming and playing nicely overall, even though he's raided and just now researching towers, but I'm thinking that he might also be interested into advancing into Mythical Age, exactly as the market is up. And since he isn't building even villages from all of the town centers, this is basically signaling that that's exactly what's gonna happen pretty soon. You can see that player going for second TC himself, even though he's disrupted as he needs to defend a bit more himself, but he's also having a bit of raiding party at the back, but that's for a bit of a divisive action, and that will potentially even result in taking the DC, as I'm thinking that he reasonably easily could, as I don't think that actually yellow is aware of literally anything that is happening in here, and right now he's going to be quite nicely raided, and with those 3 Aeneas, you can just go for the TC. The army is quite far away, even though it's not really bad. You can see Popsy attempting a bit of a side build on his opponent, quite thinking that he actually might have gone for the TC, because the extra damage from the Aeneas could have been quite powerful for him. For the moment that he actually enhances the damage of all the Hersirs. So yeah, this is going to be quite nicely for Popsy. There's not much question about that, as Heroic Age is also up, but well, let's have a look at the bottom, where Askil is hoping for a bit of fun in here. Asper is just through there. And we'll be going for Fimbulwinter and of course some Fenris Wolves. We can also see that Satyrs are going to be entering the battlefield from 7-up as well. Who is having basically the strongest economy without any kind of problem, and I'm thinking this should be resulting into pretty easy win against Matreus in here, unless he gets some significant help from 9 Racing Cat, who is in the meantime just doing all he can with a bit of raiding with the Turmas. Wow! Oh my, and he's moving exactly in there. And there's no army, just this. Come on, Ian. Ooh, that's a bit too late. He just missed it completely. And unfortunately, this is just there, in there. Coming in. And with Askil just now resigning because he is under some pretty heavy raiding himself from Popsy. Yep. Even though Popsy lost the TC in here due to very nice raiding from Askil in there a bit earlier from the boars, there's absolutely no chance for them, because, quite frankly, player with 7-up are just too well off with 3 TCs both themselves, or rather all of them. The ones stolen at the back exactly as we expected, and there's not much that Absoluts can do against this. Interesting gameplay overall. Quite unexpected. Even though it basically failed totally, the attempt from Absoluts at the start, they still did pretty nicely. And, well, unfortunately for them, TSMs knew how to react, and they didn't panic at all, and played this quite correctly. Yep, let's have a look at post-game. With player, he was in the pocket, and yeah. Or we may be thinking that 7-up was actually better in this game. So I would be giving actually the MVP to him. I think he was more important overall. But yeah, when last did you see that fast advance from a Kronos 336? Well, that's a decent drop in the villages. That was exactly what we saw a bit earlier. They're in there from the Ainears and such. That was quite a delay in there. And maybe even before that, I'm thinking that there was also a bit of raiding in here on the gold. But well, nicely played, and GG.